Hello everyone, I'm here today to do a review of Whale by Cheon Myeong-kwan, and this is part of the International Booker longlist, and I was fooled by this cover. I think it looks like a very cute story. It's not cute, it's brutal. So this is mainly about two women, Gyeong-kyung and her daughter Chun-hui. And we follow first the mom and then the daughter throughout her whole lives. And there are a lot of events that happen. It's quite a eventful book, not necessarily a plot, like it doesn't always feel like it has a storyline that is following. It's more just like all the events in their life kind of story. So we follow these two women throughout their whole lives. Their writing style, the storytelling, is very whimsical, and it's very detached as well. So the narrator is a third-person narrator that sometimes directly addresses the reader, and it's like, dear reader, I'm not going to talk about this, I'm going to move now to this other thing. So it's very detached from the characters' feelings and the characters' thought processes, so we don't really know these characters in depth, and I think that's intentional. I think that the book is trying to make a statement about how women are treated in this society, and how the society is, so it exaggerates a certain point. So some of the characters are quite two-dimensional, intentionally, because they want to represent that kind of character in the bigger picture. And talking about that, this book is brutal. Like, there is so much rape, death, violence, abuse, everything. So yeah, be aware, this is not a cutesy book. It's super violent and very, very brutal in many ways. That doesn't mean it's not good. It's just like, you must be aware that these things are part of the book, and it makes it a lot more difficult to read, I guess. So yeah, be aware of that. The other thing that this book does, storytelling wise, is foreshadowing a lot. There are a lot of points in which the author tells us, like, well, Chun-hui is in the brickyard now, and this is where she's gonna die. That kind of thing happens a lot, and we don't know the context of what happens in the middle. And I mean, obviously that the book covers that, but there is a lot of foreshadowing like that, which also makes it, again, kind of whimsical in the tone, and kind of almost magical realism. It's quite a subtle, the magical realism. There is no like spirits or anything. Well, there is like sort of ghosts that talk to Chun-hui in her head, but there is also things like this woman that can control bees, so the bees follow her wherever she goes, sort of things like that. So like a man that is stronger than anyone else and can stop tracks in their tracks. That kind of magical realism, that it's like whimsical, but it's also not like all out. That's also part of the book. But yeah, so the story itself follows first Gyeongbok. In her life, she starts from a very difficult childhood, and then she runs away with this man, and then she goes from man to man in different ways, trying to make her life. And at some point she has a daughter, and she decides to become this brick maker. Not really, she has a land, and she hires people to make bricks, and she sells them. Then she's a business owner, and then she has several businesses. She has a cafe, she has a cinema that looks like a whale. That's where the cover comes from. And she runs her business, and at some point we change more into the daughter's perspective, and she is a brick maker. She is very strong, and she's also not the brightest, so she gets into trouble because she doesn't understand social cues and stuff like that, and then we follow her throughout her life. So that's kind of the main storyline of the book, but a lot of things happen in between, and a lot of events are going on, to the point in which sometimes it was difficult following the secondary characters because there are so many of them and they have all kind of like a backstory to them, so I found it a little bit difficult to follow some of the secondary characters in that sense. But yeah, overall, like, the story was good. I think the storytelling was also good. The writing was fine, but I think it's a good book overall. I'm not sure if it was as successful at what it was trying to say about misogyny as it was, and obviously a lot of people think that this book is very misogynistic and that's why they don't like it. I think that obviously this is like taking things to the extreme to show how nonsensical it is in a way, and that's kind of the point of the book. But obviously the fact that some people didn't get it, I'm not sure it was successful at it. But the main point for me is like I think the book was good. Did I enjoy reading it? Absolutely not. Especially the first half. The second half, when we followed Shunhui, was a little bit easier to follow and a little bit more engaging for me. But yeah, overall it was so brutal that it was sometimes not an easy read. And I don't mean like an easy read in terms of like you have to put work into it, but it was just like a very uncomfortable, very harrowing read. And so sometimes I just didn't want to pick this book up because it was just a bit too much, and at some point it felt like it was just too much. It was not making any additional point, but it kept being so brutal for no reason almost. So yeah, some mixed things about this book, mixed feelings about it. I understand why people like it, I understand why people don't. Personally, I didn't enjoy it, but I'm glad I read it. So yeah, those are my thoughts on this book. Let me know if you have read it or if you plan to read it, and until next video, bye!